What's up, guys? I'm EJ, joined by Kendall here for another episode recap and review of Young Justice Season 4. This is Episode 7, The Lady or the Tigress. Guys, this was a pretty big episode on many fronts. One, the big front being the plot to save Orphan on Santa Prisca from the League of Shadows after she was kidnapped last episode. We also got a lot of stuff going on Mars. We kind of see how that story ended up being kind of completed. We actually didn't see, what happened to McGann and the people on Mars after Connor's supposed, again, I put quotation marks, death. And then also we got a very unique and very interesting flashback regarding some of the backstory behind not just Orphan's character Cassandra, but also Barbara Gordon. So this was a big episode. I'll toss to Kendall first. Just initial thoughts on this episode here today.
I thought it was interesting. We got some interesting stuff, regarding the backstories for, the Orphan character. We got some interesting stuff, with her and Lady Shiva. We got some stuff with Barbara Gordon that was interesting. And, we continue to move the plot along. And we also, saw the aftermath of what happened with Superboy, which was important because we had, talked about that for a couple of weeks now about when and if or when we were ever going to see that. And I guess it probably happened sooner than I expected. I wasn't sure if we were ever going to see that, but they've been a little wonky with the timeline. But, we got to see it, so that was cool.
Yeah, the timeline, Shamari, definitely some interesting stuff here because we see we see that McGann and John are still on Mars, well after Beast Boy. Beast Boy we see is still is back home. So I don't know how he got sent back home. But here with McGann and John, we see them there. Were you surprised to see kind of just like a month later they were still on Mars trying to figure stuff out?
A little bit. We had not seen McGann. I don't think we saw McGann this whole arc. So we find out where she was. In hindsight, it makes sense that she would be with her family,
right, after
after all this. And same with John as well.
John, not John.
Or John.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I mispronounce. And all that. But yeah, it definitely makes sense. And I agree with Ken. I thought it was very interesting. I thought it was, very interesting, very sad to see. I know there's still, of course, theories floating around. Oh, Connor's not dead. This will all be resolved soon enough. But that remains to be seen. But yeah, a lot of interesting timeline stuff going on in this episode.
And staying on Mars real quick, Kendall, the episode starts with Mars, with Malafalek telling, the rest of the white Martians, hey, the bomb didn't go off, but we've done our job. We've instilled fear, and we see McGann come in almost Dark Phoenix-like, kind of with this anger and this rage with her telekinesis powers confronting Malafalek. What did you make of that scene?
Yeah, definitely Malafalek's, speech was definitely a very moral victory. We lost the game, but, there's a lot of good to take from it. But yeah, I thought that was interesting because we talked about it earlier in the season, how in the comics, obviously, this whole plan works to a degree. And, the Green Martians, are then enslaved and the White Martians are running things in Mars. And in here, as Greg Weisman likes to do, he turned a little bit of a swerve and it didn't work. And so now we almost see like an alternate timeline of what would have been the reaction from the White Martians had this bomb not been as successful as it was in the comics, but or this Green Martian genocide wasn't as successful as they would have hoped. So this was that was an interesting story. And then again, seeing Miss Martian, it's so tough. It's they're almost like telling the story of when you don't have you don't even have somebody to blame. You don't have anything to clinch on. And in her mind, you could tell how much that messed her up because she was so ready for it to be Malafalek and to just move on and take him out or do whatever she was going to do to him. But when he realized, when she realized that he didn't even lace the thing with kryptonite.
Right.
Then it became, even more confusing for everybody. And that look, I mean, again, that's I think that's further proof that the story is going to be continued. They're being a lot more. They're foreshadowing this story continuing far more than they did with Kid Flash. With Kid Flash, he just disappears, but they don't necessarily hint that but he's still out there. With Superboy, they're not hinting at that, but they're hinting that there is a deeper story that needs to be investigated, and with that will come, dominoes.
And Shamari, we see some of that a little bit with Shira telling John that they had searched for all the kryptonite in the galaxy, and it was all accounted for. So that means that it couldn't have been kryptonite that they somehow lost at some point. It's interesting that Justice League knows where all the kryptonite is, but that was a pretty big development, Sham.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And Martian Manhunter pointed out that it doesn't mean there wasn't more. This apparently came from Apocalypse or Apocalypse.
Yeah, she said within the Milky Way. So
exactly, yeah.
Right.
So we know people from Apocalypse were involved in this, so you would think, okay, the kryptonite came from them. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's very, very mysterious. Very mysterious situation. I don't think this is gonna get resolved in this arc. I would guess that this is gonna be resolved in the last arc. I would think they'll do I guess you call it cliche thing and just like kind of just push it all the way over until you forget about it, and then Superboy shows up.
No, it's interesting because in many ways, they have kind of kept it in the forefront. But Kendall, you're saying that you think that maybe, or Sham, you're saying that maybe it might be something that they try to move away from now that we've kind of gotten to this point of the story where we know it's not from kryptonite within the galaxy. They don't really have any clues. Right now, it's just stuck with McGann, kind of just grieving with no answers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think that this storyline I think this is gonna linger. That's just, that would be my guess. I think this storyline is definitely gonna linger. I don't think we're gonna get any answers or any real definitive answers in this arc or even the next arc. I think I think this will try to seem like a Wally situation, where similar to how Artemis had her grieving arc, McGann is going to have her grieving arc, and then they're going to try to move forward. Yeah, I'm starting to feel like Superboy is gonna come back at some point, just because with Artemis, with Wally, and now McGann with Superboy, it's like, it makes it more realistic that they all wouldn't survive, but it's just kind of morbid,
right?
That they're just kind of dropping like this. And it's something like that, just some random, bomb,
kind of off screen.
Yeah, really off screen. Really, you didn't really see what happened. You don't see the body. You just, they just show up.
A shadow of ashes is all we have.
Yeah,
really, and it's like,
that would have been the second time that we didn't have a confirmed death.
So yeah, I'm starting to feel like Superboy is, he's either gonna come back, or we're gonna realize that something else. He's gonna be here in some form. He's gonna be able to communicate to McGann in some kind of form, like.
So you're saying Force Ghost?
I don't know.
Either he's gonna come back or he'll be able to communicate.
I mean, if Force Ghost, whether it be some kind of like recording, even maybe, or something. Something.
It's all dark.
Yeah, it's dark. But that's why I think he's gonna come back. That was my guess. Is that he's gonna.
This will be the last time we see Connor Kent, is what you're saying.
Right. Yes.
Like the last, we haven't seen Wally since season 1.
Let's talk about Santa Prisca, because I feel like I need to deserve a little pat on the back, because I had predicted that the whole "we need to capture Cassandra alive" bit from Lady Shiva last week was not necessarily about Cassandra Savage. That I thought it might be about Cassandra Cain, or Cassandra Wuhan, as they call it on the show. And sure enough, we learned that through our conversation between Cassandra and, or not really conversation, because of course Cassandra can't talk, but Lady Shiva kind of talking to her about their plan. How, yes, to get the Justice League intel was important, which we learned they were able to steal through Oracle and her kind of comms communication with Artemis, but that also they wanted to get Cassandra back because they feel like she's a weapon that they really didn't get to see fully realized after she had betrayed them, and it leads us Kendall, to this very interesting flashback in terms of Cassandra's first mission with the League, and it's a mission to take out the Joker. Um, it kind of creates a pretty crazy scene at the UN. I thought this was like, if you want a backdoor pilot to a Batman centric Greg Weisman show, this was definitely the episode for you because this was, I thought, exceptional. The Joker monologue to Vandal Savage in that video, probably the longest uninterrupted dialogue we've ever seen maybe on the show. I mean, he talked for like a good 3 minutes, just with no people interrupting him. It was haunting. It was crazy. It was funny. It had all the elements you'd want from the Joker, really well delivered. And then the action sequence in at the UN where the Joker is trying to kill all the ambassadors creates a lot of interesting kind of the tidbits for the canon. We learned that Barbara gets her paralysis through this incident. It's not anything like the Killing Joke. It's through her trying to stop Cassandra from killing the Joker. What did you make kind of just of that part of the show, that reveal one that they wanted Cassandra in the flashback of learning Cassandra's background, how it relates to Barbara? Because Barbara, considers her a sister. It certainly says a lot considering Cassandra's reason why she's in a wheelchair.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely an interesting backstory. It goes back to what we talked about with, always wanting to know what the little nuances of this world is, because we know that it's not the typical DC universe. We assume these little things are going on, and we assume that the history that we know is, from, the DC animated series and the comics is what we assume that we'll get in this series. But then they throw curveballs, like the Killing Joke having not been a thing, and different things like that. So, I mean, it's what we talked about earlier in this season about, why we need a Justice League show or some other extended version of this universe. But yeah, no, I mean, in terms of them finding out or us realizing that it was Cassandra Cain that they were after, I mean, I thought you were right on the money. In terms of that Cassandra Cain storyline, I thought that it ended up working. In terms of the flip or the twist that they were actually going after her as opposed to Cassandra Savage, that made sense. And how they executed it, I thought worked. And then I thought that the flashback to the Barbara Gordon storyline and her connection to the orphan character, I thought that worked too, because I think that when you talk about creating this shared universe or creating this universe that's supposed to have had history, have to have, we've talked about it for weeks on this show. That they have to tell us what's going on or what's happened in the history of the DC universe, because we know this isn't the DC universe that we're normally familiar with. So things are going to happen that we don't normally just like we talked about with Malefak, and his storyline going differently, and the Green Martian genocide going differently in this show as it did in the comics. The Killing Joke with Batgirl, now we know, or the origin of Oracle is different than we know it to be in the comics. So I think that's all interesting backstory. And does it serve the main storyline like directly? Probably not. But if you're fans of the DC lore, some may find that stuff more interesting than the actual main plot. Some may say, I want a Batman show. I want to see what's going on with Oracle rather than whatever's going on with the League. So, yeah, I mean, I think that those moments are interesting. They have their value, and I thought those were good. Those are two good twists in the show, on this episode.
Now, Sham, staying quickly on the part about the changing of the Oracle origin. I've read the Killing Joke. You've read the Killing Joke. I feel the Killing Joke over time has kind of become more controversial and kind of less well received over time. And I think there's good reasons for that in some degree. I know we both really enjoyed the Killing Joke. Um, what do you think of this? Kind of altered origin. Do you like this altered origin they did? I actually did. I thought that for the only thing that kind of was tough for me to figure out was, you know, did they go into that mission knowing that Cassandra was gonna attack Joker? Because I thought the line where she said, "I wasn't saving Joker, I was saving you," felt a little cheesy. Because I'm just like, how did you know this was who? Why? Like who? How did you know this was gonna be Cassandra? Unless they knew prior, I don't know. But but I still liked a lot of everything else around it. Did you like this twist to the Barbara Gordon story?
I thought it was okay.
Okay.
I would say, I think there's more meaning behind, and I'm not as familiar with with this character, so that's full disclosure there, right? I haven't read any of their stuff in the comics, so but I personally just find more meaning in the Joker having not only killed, of course, Jason Todd, but also
Right.
maimed a member of the Bat family.
Right.
Yeah, I just find more meaning in that really kind of strengthening the hatred and the bond between Batman and the Bat family and the Joker.
Kind of
So I
adding
was
to
fine.
that kind of adding to that kind of thing of like, Batman still won't kill this guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Like there is, I think, for a lot of people, though, in the Killing Joke, that the argument is, did he actually kill the Joker at the end of the book, which is, debatable, I guess. But
Hmm.
for the DC lore, that's continued with that story with the Joker still being alive, obviously. And they've adapted it kind of as the main canon throughout almost every other DC iteration that's used Oracle. Um, that is kind of like a interesting dynamic that Batman lives with the fact that he's killed one of his sons. He's killed, he's made, Batgirl, who's like a daughter to him, and yet he will not cross that line. It's part of that. It's part of
Hmm.
it's a thing. It's definitely a nod to his character that I think is taken away a little bit with this.
Right.
But I think what Young Justice always does well is to make the characters of this universe that we're kind of focused on matter. We're not
Hmm.
the show is not centered around Batman. It's not centered around Superman. They play key parts and they're definitely major parts of the story from time to time. But the story isn't really about them. It's about these young heroes that we're following as they grow up. So I think I think that it serves a purpose in terms of taking so much of the onus being on, oh, here's another Batman thing with the Joker, kind of putting it more on Barbara and her decision and her heroism and that connection it makes with Orphan, someone who's a young hero that they want to embrace into this universe. I think that I understand why for this show what they've done in the past, why this made sense for them.
Yeah, I thought this was fine for an orphan origin, or I guess origin in terms of her included in the Bat family. I thought it was cool. In that sense, I thought it was pretty cool. Um, I I was also I think I'm also a bit confused as to similar to what you just brought up as well with Barbara saying I was trying to save you, not the Joker. And even in that moment, I was kind of like, does she know her? Like,
Right.
like you said, like, did they know
Now, when I
who
watched it the
this
second
was?
time, that during the infrared part of it, I mean, Barbara is tracking Cassandra. So
Right.
there's the first view, I was like, that didn't make any sense. But I watched it the second time, I started to think, well, maybe somehow they did have intel that Shiva had this daughter that she was trying to, get to be this killer, and this was going to be the opportunity to intercept her as well as stop the Joker and the She Win thing. Is that possible? Could Batman have gone that far and known that? 100%. That's 100% possible. I think there's stuff in there
Hmm.
to maybe allude to it. I think they probably need to show a little bit more. I don't know how you feel, kind of.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I thought they could have shown more for that because I think that was missing. Um, but yeah. Otherwise, I honestly I thought that flashback was pretty cool. Um, I thought how they were
what'd you make of
infusing
this
the
Joker?
flashback with, huh?
What'd you make of this Joker?
I miss
Yeah,
Mark Hamill.
it's kind of the most we've seen of this
I miss
Joker.
Mark Hamill.
I mean, we saw some in season one, right, with the light.
Yeah, we saw a little bit. Yeah, you got a little
But
bit.
they really didn't get an extensive look at him.
Yeah, the writing is great. It's written very well. But I just miss Mark Hamill.
Right.
There's no replacing.
What
Or
about Troy Baker?
or Troy Baker. He's a good substitute as well. Or the guy they had for Telltale as well. He did a good job also. But yeah,
Or
this
Jared Leto.
I'm not gonna go there. But yeah, this I the writing was great. The writing for this Joker was great. He did a very good job. Like I could already see the
But that monologue was just epic. I thought.
Yeah, it was a great Joker. It was a good Joker. Good Joker monologue.
I mean, I'm gonna start calling Vandal Savage Vandy. Vandy. Now. Come on now, Vandy.
Just the hubris of the Joker to be like, this is how I'm gonna address Vandal Savage. It like, excuse me, understanding who Joker is and just kind of realizing that he has no concept of being how this is so above his level, in terms of a threat and the level of disrespect, the horror in it, again, the humor in it. It was just totally stellar. So let's talk about the mission. So, throughout the mission, we kind of have this story that's being told by Artemis in like kind of a voiceover of The Lady and the Tiger, which is this old short story that kind of for in many ways kind of ties into the story that we're seeing, which is Artemis slash Tigress taking these two people, one of whom they know is not trustworthy, basically into the trap. Essentially, they know that one of them's not trustworthy, and Santa Prisca is where the league is, but they need to try to save Orphan. What did you kind of make of the twist we got with Cassandra Savage, out of she being the one who's the traitor, not Onyx?
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I had said it the last couple of weeks. They did a pretty good job of playing it close to the vest, in terms of who it is. Very Scooby Doo, in terms of who's the one. And I didn't know where they were going. They ended up going with Cassandra Savage. I couldn't say I was shocked because I was willing to accept almost any outcome at that point. So I wouldn't say there was no surprise. But it was an interesting outcome. I mean, the execution I thought was pretty good. I feel like overall, first of all, I did enjoy the poetry, the literary aspect of this Artemis character and the spoken word. But no, yeah, I thought that the execution of the twist it worked. Talk about very bizarre. Just we're thinking she's got one arm. How do you even? I mean, I don't know. It's tech that's way beyond my
magic.
Yeah. It's like
remember that glamour charms, how they were able to disguise Artemis. She was working with Black Manta and Aqualad. So, Cassandra alludes to that. Hey, glamour charm.
I got it from you. Yeah.
We thought about it from you, so you should feel honored in a way. I thought that was a pretty neat callback there, and I mean I didn't see it coming at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, I thought that was a pretty good callback. I didn't see that. I have to say I didn't see that coming. I got that wrong. I predicted it was going to be the other girl. For a second, I thought I was right, but then I was wrong. So, but yeah, that was surprising. I would say it was a little surprising. Because it would seem so obvious. I think
that's why. Yeah, that's why that's what I was saying.
Surprising, but at this point, I kind of just want to see where it's gonna go. So I'm like, all right, so she's evil, which we probably should have figured. Now we know for sure. So what's gonna happen now?
Yeah, well, it kind of sets up this major showdown we have because Cheshire comes in, kind of even the odds. They're able to thwart. Oracle was able to thwart the kind of data transfer. They try to use infiltrators, the nanotech, to steal the data from the vault. That didn't work, but it does set up this showdown between the team, which right now is Cheshire, Artemis, Oracle, Orphan, versus the League. Where do you see this all playing out, Kendall? How does this all shake out?
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we know that obviously they'll win on some level. That. I mean, we assume. Uh, Although obviously
Yeah, that didn't happen last
the
time.
last arc, was definitely an L to a degree. But
Yeah, we just came from an arc where we lost one of the members, so nothing's
yeah, and
guaranteed.
that's the thing about this arc is that look, could somebody go? I mean, Cheshire, I think would be top of the list
Right.
in that regard, which would be would have to be sad. But
I don't
I'd
think she
agree
would
with
lose
that.
it. I don't think we should lose anybody else.
I agree. But just when you're talking about trying to build the stakes and build, make there be
I don't know.
consequences for these action
But when
sequences,
you get to a point where you're just being edgy, just be edgy. You're just killing characters off just
right?
because. I mean, I'm cool. I'm cool. I'm cool with people being injured even. But you're gonna start killing more people. You just killed Superboy.
Right. Um, how do you feel about this, CJ?
I mean, I tend to think that someone's either gonna get hurt or we're gonna lose somebody. They gotta give some teeth to the League of Shadows. We kind of see, Cassandra, Artemis, and Onyx kind of go through them fairly easily to get through the facility and try to find, you know, Orphan. Now, of course, those were just like, foot ninjas, can let's say. Now we're kind of we're dealing with the real lead when you're talking about Lady Shiva and Black Spider and them. So that's a different kind of fight. Um, I don't know if anybody will die, but I definitely think somebody's gonna get hurt from this. But I do think that they will get out of there.
Or maybe they don't retrieve Cassandra King. Maybe
That's true
that
too.
it's an L in that regard. Maybe they have to leave without her, and that
I
would
was gonna,
still
yeah, I was
add
gonna say,
some.
what if Orphan?
Again,
She's like, I'd
yeah,
rather die than go back here or something like that. I mean, it's dark. I'm just saying,
yeah,
but
it's not a kid show anymore.
well, yeah, it's not. I mean, I mean, didn't they? Well, Brion killed a guy. I forgot. What, he killed his dad
Right.
or something, or his uncle or something
The uncle, yeah.
last season. Um, and I don't know. I mean, I just started thinking of that because Barbara was making a whole thing of like her being her sister and stuff like that. And
Right.
oh, I need her back, and please save
By the
her
way,
and
they
stuff like
mentioned
that. Whenever
Jason
they say
too.
stuff like that,
She said,
yeah, he
that's what
mentioned
happened with
Jason
Jason. After that happened
also.
with Jason, we got to bring her back. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was wondering, do we think that is this a scenario where we get maybe the debut of Jason Todd?
I think that's what's gonna
Or
happen. I talked about that last episode. I feel like, the reason why we kind of saw them in the first arc or early in this arc,
first episode,
and
yeah.
yeah, and I think it's because we'll probably get introduced to them. I think even seeing Orphan in this episode, the flashback of her being part of the league, wearing the league stuff, and we see Jason wearing not the same stuff but similar stuff. I think that's going to be kind of a parallel they're going to draw. Another character is, are they quote unquote redeemable in this situation after going through what they end up having to go through in terms of being a member of the League of Shadows. Here, obviously, they're not the League, but again, I tend to think that maybe this is the beginnings of a Leviathan,
like,
organization.
what did they show Jason? I'm like forgetting the
Well, we
whole.
saw
Remember,
Talia, we
remember
saw
when Talia
Damien
and
and the baby,
Sensei
Her,
when
Talia, baby Damien.
and he was in the back.
yeah, sure,
Oh,
yeah,
right.
Cheshire tried to go and kill Sensei.
Yeah,
And when she didn't, when
yeah, you're right.
when he stopped her, Talia and them came up and they kind of were talking crap before she got the memo from Artemis that she needed her help. So she thought it was for Leanne, but obviously we know it's because of this mission. I think that there's a chance, especially
Yeah,
considering Treasure makes herself
yeah. I was gonna
known.
say, I remember.
Especially since Treasure makes herself known, obviously she does, join them. There's a kind of funny dialogue where Artemis acts like she had no doubt that she was going to be there. We kind of see earlier in the episode that she did have some doubt. Um, but that's because of that. Because, they told her, hey, you want help, you want a new life or whatever, come back. Which wouldn't be surprised if she decided that she was going to get some reinforcements and she decided to turn to Sensei and Tali to get it.
Yeah. No, I mean, that could wind up being an interesting kind of twist or an interesting, um, plot point. But it's interesting because I don't know how long. I mean, I'm assuming this is the finale of this arc coming up. We're reaching the
I would assume
crescendo.
so.
Um, So yeah, I mean, it'll be
Yeah,
interesting to see
I
how it
believe
plays.
episode 9 is supposed to be the new episode with the Zatanna arc. So yeah, this should be the last one. And this one definitely set up the end. Definitely felt like a penultimate to whatever's gonna be the
Yeah.
next big thing.
Yeah, yeah, no. So yeah, it should be exciting. I mean, you wonder if we get anything else from the Martian arc. You know, will we see more of Miss Martian, or is that more Beast Boy? They sprinkled in some of those storylines as well.
Hmm.
Or if they just it's just a
I
full
feel like
on
this episode they
part of the story.
probably. I mean, there's gonna be some B storyline because there's always a B storyline, but I feel like this episode really needs to kind of the focus needs to be on just completing this kind of arc and completing this story, because this is a probably this is gonna I think gonna be a major showdown. You talked about kind of the lack of action we saw in the first arc. We've seen more action in this arc, but I think this is the episode where you have to deliver on the action for sure. And I think that they will. You know, them setting up the fight. You know, see basically at the end of this episode, I think kind of is a pretense to what we're gonna see in the next one, which I think is gonna be just a mega scrap, a mega showdown. That I hope will be of epic proportion to certainly have the kind of figures needed to do that with Lady Shiva, Orphan, Artemis, Cassandra Savage, Onyx, and then again, if we do get those characters like Sensei, Jason Todd, and Talia, I mean, this could end up being really a great kind of crescendo to this. I think this is a good part of the show to do scores here. So I'll go to Kendall first. Out of 10, what are you going to give this episode? The Lady and the Tigress, episode 7 of season 4 of Young Justice.
I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I thought this was a good episode. It'll be interesting again to see where how it crescendos into the finale of this arc. But yeah, I mean, good action, some twists that some we expected, some we didn't. So I'm excited to see where it continues to go.
Uh, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty much in agreement. I give it an 8 out of 10. Solid episode. Enjoyed it. Good action. Good dialogue. Interesting story. Um, the characters and action and stuff. I think it's like I said, I've enjoyed this arc still better than the last one personally.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to seeing how it ends.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 8.5. I thought this was arguably the best episode of the season, given the world building with the Bat family stuff, which I thought was really excellent. The Joker monologue was excellent. I think the Cassandra backstory made sense, and they kind of tied it all together really well with Lady Shiva. Um, and then I think the Mars stuff, I thought was underrated. I mean, I thought that start the episode really kind of it surprised me to start on Mars. Totally didn't expect that, and to see kind of McGann kind of first show that rage, and then kind of have to transition to this grief that she has, where she has no one to blame for Connor. I think this episode hit on a lot of notes. I think it was really solid. I go 8.5 here. Really can't wait to see how this arc wraps up, because I think that we're going to get a great ending. But thank you guys for checking out this edition of our Young Justice episode recap and review. Of course, if you like this one, make sure you like this video. Of course, subscribe to our channel, New Generation Media. But we'll be back next week with another episode recap. So for Shamari, for Kendall, I'm EJ. Take it easy, guys. Peace.